During the Cold War, the US had a horrible problem. Soviet submarines armed with nuclear missiles were sitting somewhere in the ocean, and no one knew where. Now, you can't see underwater, you can't radar underwater, but submarines make noise, whether that be engine hum, propeller cavitation, or mechanical resonance. And sound travels enormous distances through deep water. This is because the speed of sound underwater travels at approximately 1.5 thousand meters per second, which is about 4.5 times the speed of sound in the air. So the US Navy planted thousands of hydrophones along the ocean floor of the Atlantic and Pacific, all cabling back to shore stations that were constantly recording. They called this the SOSUS, or the Sound Surveillance System. Now the problem there is that the ocean is deafeningly noisy, with a ton of sounds coming from a ton of different locations, such as whales, ships, geological activity, stuff like that, all mashed together into one continuous signal that's, at the time, impossible to decipher. However, the Fourier transform is what let the analysts cut through that noise. They used this algorithm to convert raw audio into a frequency domain, allowing analysts to identify and isolate the characteristic frequencies of specific submarine classes. So every single Soviet submarine had a specific frequency fingerprint, and SOSUS learned to identify that. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, SOSUS detected Soviet submarines moving into the Caribbean, which directly affected how they executed the naval blockade. So this isn't just some supporting algorithm in the background, this is the fundamental science that was used to identify Soviet submarines. I don't know, that's so cool to me. We also have another pretty cool application of Fourier transform that's probably a little bit more prevalent to most of you guys watching, and that is used in Project Hail Mary. If you're anything like me, you've become absolutely obsessed with the cinematic adaptation of this story, because one, it has Ryan Gosling, who is a phenomenal actor, so why would I not love it? But two, it has a little rock alien critter named Rocky, who speaks entirely in notes and chords. His species, the Iridians, evolved using sound instead of sight, so his language is fundamentally frequency-based. In the story, the main character Ryland Grace installs a waveform analysis software with Fourier transform capabilities specifically to analyze Rocky's speech. This would theoretically allow Grace to decompose Rocky's alien tones into frequency components, which would then allow him to identify repeating patterns and thus build a translation vocabulary so he can communicate with Rocky. This Fourier analysis eventually becomes a real-time translation system, giving Rocky an actual voice, and their relationship essentially drives the entire story and caused me to cry more than I'm willing to admit. So while this wonderful story is fictional sci-fi, it uses real science, with the sole exception of the unbalanced centrifuge. Although apparently they do make self-balancing centrifuges, so I revoke my statement. And this is all just to show you some super cool applications of Fourier transform in the real world and popular media. I'll catch you guys later. Stay wired.